Welcome to another episode of I Am Maria podcast, a space where we explore the impact stories that inspire us to be who we are today, showing how our personal decisions and tools shape our lives. Today's conversation is with a woman who has built her life step by step across cities, industries, and seasons of herself. Jen's story isn't about one single big moment, but about the courage to keep choosing to grow. From leaving home for college to finding mentoring and mentorship in construction to building a partnership and a family while leading with strength and purpose. This episode is about decisions, identity, and the quiet power of showing up, especially as a woman and as a mother, doing it again and again. Jen, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, Maria, thank you so much for asking me on. I am really, really excited, and that intro was so meaningful. So thank you for the kind words. I've loved all of our conversations to date, so I'm really excited for today.
Yay! And I am very excited to get to know you a little bit more because we get to have conversations sometimes when we see each other. But now we're going to get the chance to know who Jennifer Abernathy is. So I'm going to start for that question. Who are you?
Who am I? I am a mom. I'm a 20-year veteran of the construction industry. I grew up in DC, or outside of DC. So my whole life was pretty centered around what was going on in politics, and all of that really bled over in that area to the everyday life of all of the kids and families around there. Everyone's kind of connected to it in some way or another. And as a grown child at 18, I kind of decided I had enough of that and went out to the Midwest to try, seeing what life was like out there, and attended Ohio State University and really just fell in love with the mentality of the culture that the Midwest fosters so much. It's really resilient people, really lovely, really caring, and I enjoyed my time there a lot. So I stayed in Columbus for a couple of years after I graduated from school, and got the itch to go back out to a big city and transferred myself out to Chicago, and knew a couple of people, but it was a big move for myself, and took a new job and just kind of saw city life and what it held for me. And really enjoyed living there. I was right downtown and kind of got to explore being on my own, and what that meant to be this independent woman. And it was a great time in my life. I think it changed me a lot for the better, and allowed me to grow in some ways that if I hadn't left home and gone off my own, I wouldn't have been able to experience. So grateful for that. But it also led me to meeting my husband. So it was a wonderful journey for me. And since then, we've relocated to Charlotte, and we've been here for over a decade now. We've got two kids and two dogs, and we're in the suburbs and a house, and just I feel very grateful that I get to live this life that really I thought was a dream for a really long time. So that's me.
That's so nice. I totally forgot about Chicago, and I'm like, that's why seasons. I mentioned the seasons, uh, from a city to a small town back to a big city. I love that.
Yeah.
And life, it's about decisions, and you have taken a lot of decisions in your life. And I like to stay within one, two, three important decisions that have led you to where you are today and to have a life you have today. Can you tell us a little more about those?
Yeah, I think the biggest kind of first step in my journey was leaving home. and trying something new. When I went out to Ohio, I knew one person going out to a school where there were 50,000 undergraduates. And it was a big change and a big kind of a risk. I'll say it was a risk at that point, but I felt very confident in my decision to do it. And I was very excited for the next chapter. And being there has led to some of my closest friendships. It's honestly how I met my husband, gosh, a dozen years after I made that decision, was through ties to school and graduating from Ohio State, living in Columbus, led to me just kind of accidentally falling into the construction world. I applied to a job that did not say anything about the kind of industry that it was in. It just looked like something that would be fun for me to do. And the next thing I knew, I was working for a general contractor who specialized in building retail and restaurant venues. And that gentleman became my biggest mentor, and just led to this whole 20-year career that I have today. So that was a big one. And then I think just trusting myself to um, make good relationship decisions and professional decisions along the way. There have been a few different moments that I think are tipping points. I think obviously it would be, I mean, meeting my husband and seeing that part of my journey play out personally, and then professionally. Probably over the last 5 or so years, I really had this opportunity to dive into what it means to be a woman in industries that are historically not very women focused. Things like construction, or facilities maintenance, or just the restaurant industry in general. And you and I have been fortunate enough to meet through the Women in Restaurant Leadership. We're having our summit next week in Charleston. I'm so excited about that. And having that experience has allowed me to meet so many wonderful people, but also feel like this renewed sense of purpose in the work that I'm doing. It's not just about what I do every day for my office job anymore. It's really transformed my passion into also bringing up that next generation of women, and making sure that they don't run into the same roadblocks and challenges and obstacles that I did as I was coming up from the last 20 years or so. And it's funny to say that because I know I still have such a long time left in this journey professionally, but I do feel like things are changing positively, and it's exciting to be a part of that movement.
Yeah, I was just thinking that everything is changing, but you're part of that movement. I'm sure that what it is today, it was not the same opportunities or the same challenges that you had before. And you said it just right. Construction industry is very demanding. And I want to ask here, what part of yourself do you have to strengthen, and what part of yourself you had to protect?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the part that I've needed to strengthen the most is finding my voice. And I honestly, I continue to work on that every single day. There's still this stigma that if you're a woman in construction, you just really don't get it. There are just certain things that you don't get. And it was funny, we were driving in the car this past week, and my daughter, I was asking her something about like what she wanted for her birthday, or there was something about like camps that she wanted to go to. And she said something about wanting something around construction, and whether it was toys or she wanted to learn more about it or something like that. And my son was also in the car, and he said, yeah, but most construction people are men though. And so we had a really big talk about what that meant. And it's funny because yeah, his father, my husband, is also in construction. So he has this, this thought in his head, and what he sees, of course, outside when we're driving around, and, the guys that are out working on the roads by us and all of that kind of stuff. And so I understand where he was coming from with it, but it was an interesting moment, a good little educational opportunity for me to talk to both my son and my daughter about what that means and what kind of opportunities there are for all kinds of people in my industry. So that was kind of interesting, just the timing of our conversation today. But Anyway, back to finding my voice, just being confident, right? To sit at the big table, and to bring up an issue and stand my ground when I disagree, with others in the room. And those are really big skills that, I don't think I'll ever perfect, but I'm going to keep working on it every day. And then in terms of what I've had to protect, probably my authenticity. I don't take life too seriously. And in this industry, there are a lot of serious people. And I'm not even sure if that's really construction necessarily, or just kind of this like white collar world of kind of that image perception and, earnings season, EBITDA, and all of that stuff. But I believe we can accomplish so much more by feeling our feelings, and just having honest dialogue, talking things out, and that everything needs to be communicated in a PowerPoint. So I think that's definitely something that I work every day to make sure that it's not taken away.
Nice, which I am sure, and I want you, if you want, take us to that conversation with your family,
Yeah.
because I think that's the perfect example on being authentic and truly finding your voice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the way of the conversation was handled and the way you were able to, give wordings to your son and your daughter will probably be different from if you have gave that word to a colleague per se.
Mhm.
And I find this very powerful because when we speak to our kids, we try to be cautious and smart and right on point, not too long, but to give the right message. And I wonder how was that conversation and how is that you handle it?
Yeah. I also think when we talk to our kids, we try not to use too many words, right? So that was a challenge for me. We kind of talked about, hey, mom's in construction, and no, I'm not outside on the road building things like you see every day. But my skills, are in the communication part of it and the project management part of it. And, I help coordinate the teams that go out there and do the work. And so, if that's something that my daughter wants to do, then she can do that. Or if she wants to actually build things, she can do that too. It's about having the right opportunities to learn those things. And we do a lot of Legos in our house. So we're always, dreaming up, hey, why don't you make a beach scene today? Or why don't you think about, we did an amusement park one time where my son made a whole bunch of different like little pop-up venues where you could get your ice cream and all of those kinds of things. And he had a big roller coaster set. So yeah, we talked about everybody's got their talents. He's very engineering minded, and she's a very strong leader, and very confident, and loves to learn. They both love to learn. So I think that there are definitely opportunities for both of those kinds of skill sets. And that's kind of what I communicated in the car was, it might not look the same for everybody, but you guys can do whatever you want and be whatever you want. You just need to ask and build skills. And that's what I'm here to help.
And try and see if you like it or if you
Yeah.
don't. That's
Yeah. You
awesome.
never know if you don't try.
Yeah. At work, you lead. At home, you nurture. You're a mom, but a leader as well. Where do you feel that you're most vulnerable? Vulnerable.
I think it's a little bit of both in both places in just different ways. I think it shows up for me in the question of, am I doing enough? And I think that I feel that way in both places. I don't know if you experience that as a working mom too, but it's kind of like when I feel like I'm doing so much at work, am I doing enough at home? And if I feel like I'm focusing too much on what's going on with my kids, and am I giving enough attention to what needs to be done at home? So I think that's the hardest thing to balance. And for a lot of the leadership things, right, versus motherhood, they both feel natural to me in different ways, but there's something about motherhood that, is just a little bit more like sacred. It's leadership, but it's leading in a different way, and it feels a little bit heavier and a lot more important. At work, there's kind of this pressure to be perfect on the outside, a little bit more than this, the authenticity thing that we were talking about. And then when you get home, you can be a little bit messy. You don't have to be that version of yourself. You can just be yourself. And there's this comfort where we can all learn from each other. We can learn how to be a little bit more resilient together, more compassionate. And I think that the outcome is more important at home, in my opinion, than, the business outcome. And my boss may disagree with that, but that's okay. I think there's different vulnerabilities in both places, but they're both important and different in their own ways.
Yeah, especially when you get to balance and balancing both, it doesn't mean that you always have the perfect 50-50. Um, my thinking is not am I giving, but can I give more? And sometimes it's
Mhm.
like, come on, Maria, like you're gonna have that feeling, but it's okay. Like you can rest as well. You can be you. You cannot be perfect and have the perfect setup in your house.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you
when
handle it?
you're, yeah, when your children look at you, what do you hope that they feel about what's possible for themselves in the
It's a good
future?
question. Yeah. I hope that they know that they can use their natural talents in different ways. And that they see that hard work and showing up really pays off. I always want them to feel supported in whatever they choose to do, that, they know they can dream big, they can take risks, they can fall on their face, they can change their mind. And they can chase what makes them feel really good, and that no matter what, that I'll be there, to catch them or push them or whatever they need in that moment. But I also hope that they see and understand what it means to treat people with respect, to communicate well, to show up with that softer side of leadership. Girlfriend of mine, Amy Hom, says that leadership starts in the heart and gets checked by your head. And I really believe that. And so I hope that that's something that my kids take away too, is that in order to be a leader, you don't just have to, be direct and demanding, that you can come down to other people and their levels and work with them, in a softer way.
Very nice and very important. In fact, there is an episode with Chris Rawlings, which is a speaker, and it's called "How Authenticity Creates a Real Impact."
Mhm.
And it's very nice to see how he refers to be vulnerable when you lead as well, because that's a way you respect, you understand, you can lead on your team, and the team also will lead on you,
Mhm.
understanding everything that comes through life. So I just thought that that was a cool mention to give. And if you want, it's in English. So if you want your son and your daughter to watch it, it's on my podcast. So it's
Great.
very
Yeah,
nice.
I will. That's
Now,
awesome.
Jen, when you were speaking about the strong and the soft, gets me to think that if have you ever, felt tension between being strong and being too soft? How do you navigate that balance now?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a struggle. I think it's a different kind of struggle for women too than it is for men. I think we've all heard kind of the perception or the word, that's used to describe a strong woman in business versus a strong man in business. They're not the same. And I hate that stigma, and I want to break it at some point. And I think it ultimately it ties into being authentic, um, and how you kind of embrace yourself and your natural leadership qualities, and being aware too of how that comes off, and giving too much in either direction isn't necessarily a good thing either. But I wish I had the answer. I don't think anybody has the answer to that, but I think in some way. each of those qualities, strength and softness, I think they really complement each other if you let them. It's something like strength is like believing in yourself, but softness is kind of that intuition, right, that leads you to those decisions or to that belief. And strength can be setting the direction for your team to follow, but softness is how you go about getting them to believe in it and get behind you. You mentioned that just a minute ago, talking about that podcast. So I think they have to coexist, and it's less about figuring out how to balance them as much as it is kind of allowing them to balance each other through, intentional action.
Right. To be balanced, to be integrated. And I am sure that being strong and or soft, it's completely different than it was before.
Mhm.
And evolution is, it's here. We live it every day. So when you look back,
Yeah.
what has evolved most in all these years for you?
Yeah. I think when I first started out, I was taking bigger risks and reaching higher and climbing further or trying to at least. And um, sometimes I fell, sometimes I didn't. And I think there wasn't as much pressure on me from me to not push myself and be stable. And once you have the kids, the family, the house, everything, things get a little scarier, and I didn't have that fear when I first started. It's a good thing and a bad thing, right? I think I'm more planned, more structured, more calculated with a lot of things now. And um, I I spent a lot of time reaching for things that weren't right for me. But ultimately, I think, some of those missteps were great. I ended up landing in places that I didn't even know would be wonderful for me. And some of the missteps weren't, but I learned a lesson. And I feel a lot more comfortable and confident and rooted in who I am. And I think this stage of my career feels exciting to me because I really feel like I know myself and I know what makes me tick. And I also know what's just not a good fit and how to let it go without having that nagging, like, what if question in the back of my head. It's kind of, well, I tried that a couple of times. I know it's not good for me. I don't know why I'm wasting my time, thinking about it now, kind of thing. So I think I'm proud of where I've come, and I think we all should be, right? All of us have life lessons learned, and Maria, I know I've listened to a lot of yours as well, and you have a lot of unique experiences that I'll never have, and that makes you into a really wonderful and resilient and an exciting human. So I think we all have great stories to share when it comes to that.
Definitely. And you mentioned two important points for me, ambition as a woman, as a professional, and then that change when you became a mother.
Mhm.
How has that relationship with the ambition changed since that moment of becoming a mother?
Gosh, I have different priorities now. I have different things that I'm ambitious about. Um, I think at some point I came to terms with what is going to work in this stage right now. And I don't know that ultimately my ambitions had changed permanently. But I think, as you've mentioned a couple of times, that word, that seasons word, right? Right now, I'm in a season where my kids love to hang out with me and they are soaking up knowledge and life experiences. And we're traveling to new places together. And I want to be here and I want to be present for that. So I think the ambition maybe hasn't changed. It's just the way that it looks right now today is different. And that when I get into that season of life where Maybe I'm not needed as much every day here. Things will look different, but it's not necessarily that it goes away. I think it just kind of takes a backseat to the ambition of being a great mom and building a great family and knowing that that's what's going to really matter, right? Nobody is that saying you never regret spending time with your family, but you probably will regret spending too much time at the office. So there's uh, there's just a little bit of a shift that happens in this season for me.
Totally. And I like the seasons, just saying the seasons, because many women, and I was one of them, believe that, if I'm working too much, I might not be giving a lot to my son and, vice versa. And there is a lot of pressure. And I think nowadays it's a little different because we speak so much about the balance and the integration and the work and life balance and so on. Now, there is an invisible pressure that we professional women carry and that we don't usually talk about it so much unless we feel comfortable sharing, usually with mom, we call her. And what's that invisible pressure that you have as a working mom?
Yeah, honestly, I think we put a lot of that pressure on ourselves. And that's something that I work really hard at. It's like knowing that I don't have to put together a goodie bag for Valentine's Day just because everybody else is putting together a goodie bag for Valentine's Day, right? My kids are just going to throw everything out that they get anyway. So, let's get the little paper cards and fold them in half and call it a day, right? Just realigning the things that matter has been something that's helped me with that. But I do think you're right. I don't think it's necessarily external pressure for me anyway, as much as it is internal. And it goes back to that question of am I doing enough in all different areas of life? And um, I think at some point you mentioned that we have to just rest, right? We have to let ourselves be enough and just know that the effort we're putting in is good effort, as long as it is, right? But knowing yourself well enough to know when you can allow yourself to take a break or the little things that don't matter as much um, as it might feel like they do, given the age of social media. And, we've got people out there that are Pinterest momming and they're living a great life. And I think that's wonderful that they're able to do that for their kids. But for me, that's pressure that I don't need. So just kind of realigning that internal expectation has helped me a lot.
I love that. That's why I love these conversations. I'm like here thinking on I'm that mom that loves the goodie bags, make the Valentine's bags, and my son is really into that. But then I'm thinking it's true. They threw that away, or we threw that away. And if we were in a room, like moms, and you were to say that message, I'll be like, yes, that's true. It's completely true. And it's realigning, it's making sure that it's it's meaningful, but you don't have to overdo things. Um, and it's really what works for you, what it's
Yeah.
aligned with you to you and with matters. In this case, your children.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And if it's if it's something that is so important to you to keep doing those goodie bags, keep doing it, girl. I love it, But if it's something that's keeping you up until 1 in the morning and you're stressed out and you're crying and like, no, let go. It's the little things, Are you there for him in the morning? Yes, great, So give yourself permission to not be perfect all the time.
that is a great way of putting it because definitely we put so much pressure sometimes that it's not needed.
Yeah.
And here's where I'm asking, in construction, it is a very male dominated space. And then you're going to this conference, which is all female. It's all female led. And I'm like, oh my God, how do you do it? How is your energy in male dominated spaces versus this female power?
It is. It's so different. It's so different. It honestly brings me so much more joy when I go into the room full of women than it does in the room full of men. It's just easier, right? We can all kind of um, relate to each other with these pressures that you're talking about. We all feel it, but when we're in a room with people that are different from us that don't experience those pressures, it's really hard to let it go. And I think it's something magical that we're all in the same kind of chapter or in that same environment together where we get it. We know what the other one is going through, and it's at least a starting point to relate to each other. And there are so many different things, and like I said earlier, life experiences, right? That I know I don't have that other women experience. And I know I'm very fortunate in a lot of those ways. But I think that the main thing that brings me joy in those areas is just knowing that we all kind of get something together, and we can give each other permission to fall down a little bit, and we can give each other permission to wear the fancy outfit and not like the business outfit, right? Just always a little bit more fun, a little bit more personality comes out. I know we're doing like the Gatsby party next week, right? And so we're all going to come in our sparkles and feathers, and that's just not something that would have happened at the restaurant development conference that I was at last week. It's just different. So it's fun. And I do think in the other arena, right, where it's a room dominated by men, I do still tend to seek out the women in the room. And there's something, I think quiet that resonates in a room like that when you see another female across the happy hour room and you guys kind of like, oh, we should be friends, right? We should tackle this together. We're a team now. That's really refreshing. So it's different, but they both have the pros and cons. But I'm really very excited for World next week. It's kind of like a girls' getaway, but when you come with some education with it too, right? A
But
little bit of leadership and
professionally.
education, a lot of fun.
I'm not going to this one, but I cannot wait to see the photos and
Oh,
all the
you'll be
fun that you
missed.
guys are gonna have. Yes. I hope I can make it next year.
Yeah.
Um, I hope you have a great fun there.
Oh.
Jen, we women, we're very emotional, and don't tell me when, hormones are on their top. And I'm thinking here, in my space, in design and architecture, it's completely different because it's really about emotions and how creative and what you can give to the world and so on. Now in construction, it's totally different because it's like you have to be strong all the time.
Yeah.
No emotions here, lady, basically. How do you handle those days when you don't feel so strong or you feel a little bit emotional?
I have a lot of women I can lean on for that support, and I think that's super important. Building out the network, like you, right? You understand. You're in the same arena as I am. You're just on a little bit of a different side of the ball, but you're in there with me, and so finding those kinds of people that you can get off of a really frustrating call and then just get right on the phone with them and say, hey, what did you think about that? And I was so angry when, and know that when you're having those conversations, the words aren't leaving that space, right? The trusted confidant that's a female that gets it is so important. And it's a way for me to kind of let go of that without it, blowing up in the middle of a meeting or negatively affecting any other space in the professional realm. So I think that's really important. Finding a female that you can trust, just one, and that's it.
That's a great tool. And I think it is a great time for us to speak about your toolbox
Mm.
because definitely leading to people or to spaces, to those tools that have been there with us that we continue, to choose our resources, techniques, habits that we have. What's your toolbox?
Toolbox. Having a good set of friends, having an incredibly supportive partner, and staying healthy, are really my three core tools in my toolbox. I like to get up early. I go work out at 6 in the morning almost every day of the week when I'm home, and just kind of starting my day off on that tone where I can feel mentally clear, I can feel strong and confident going into the day, and I can feel like I had a little bit of time just for myself. Really helps me to get the day going on a positive note. Having a supportive partner at home, I couldn't do what I do without him. Knowing that, he's not afraid to pick up the phone and call the doctor and go and get the kids from school if I'm on a call and all of those things. It's made such a huge difference. And truly, I couldn't do what I do without him. So I feel very lucky and very blessed that I have that we're able to communicate with each other, when we both need a little bit extra help from the other one, and professionally just having a village. It's all about the village. It's a village in the community, right? It's a village at work. It's all about the people that you can lean on when you need a little bit extra. So those are my tools: a healthy state of mind and healthy relationships.
I love the village, the healthy relationships, the partnership that you have with your husband. Um, to you, what does real partnership look like in your marriage? And you mentioned, it's not the ideal version, but the honest one.
Yeah. The honest version is communicating all the time about everything that we need. Um, Whether it's, I forgot to get, you know, um, pencils at the grocery store today. Can you please run out at 8:30 tonight and go and get that for me? Or the reminders for each other, hey, we need to reorder this, or hey, this one has a doctor's appointment tomorrow, please don't forget, or juggling calendars and making sure that when I'm traveling, he's not traveling. When he's traveling, I'm not traveling, and that we've got parents to help if we need that, and calling friends for rides from baseball practice and dance and all of that kind of stuff. It's really just this like constant juggling of responsibilities, and um, that is the honest kind of partnership. And it's about knowing when the other one has a talent that you don't have. For a long time, I had like really wanted to be in control of cooking dinner. I don't know why. It was just a thing. I enjoy cooking. I really enjoy cooking when I have time. Right now is not a season where I have time. And my husband, however, is extraordinarily talented, and looking into our refrigerator and seeing like grape jelly and a chicken breast and like some noodles, and making a gourmet meal out of like the most random ingredients that I would never think to put together. So when we are in this stage where we're running in a million different directions and strapped for time, it's, allowing the other person to pick up where our weaknesses are and their strengths come in. So that's just one example, right, of the different kinds of ways that we structure things in the house. But we get out and we have our fun too. And that's also a really important part of our partnership, is making sure we're always putting each other first, and, regular date nights on the weekends, and doing them by ourselves sometimes, and not just going out with other friends, and going out with the kids sometimes too. We're very family focused and family first, and that's something that I really appreciate about the way that we approach our partnership.
That's so lovely. and important because it's the legacy
Mhm.
that we're also leaving behind. Yeah, we're leaving a legacy at work, but life just, goes by and the family legacy stays there for generations. I was curious and I was trying also to come back to the family side because you mentioned that your son is very curious and that you can see that he has a very engineering mindset. How do his questions challenge you or expand the way you think?
Oh gosh, he just asks the most interesting questions. It's a lot of whys. My kids are both in this phase right now where they're playing the why game, and it's like every sentence that you say, it's the next question is, but why? And I think a lot of the time he's doing it to be funny, but I also think a lot of the time he's doing it to be serious. And I have to catch myself from that line where like I start to get frustrated because we're having this conversation to where I actually try and help him work through these questions. But it's so interesting to see the way his brain works. We will walk around to random places and he's, pushing buttons and opening things he shouldn't be opening. And, it's like when you get on the plane and there's all those controls at the little runway thing that you walk on, and he's over there like getting this close to throwing everybody off the jet bridge and I have to pull him back and he's like, but I want to know, what does this do and what's that lever for? And it's really cool because my brain does not work like that. So he is teaching me to expand the way that I look at the world and how to be perceptive in a different type of way. He sees things that no one else sees. And it's wild to be a participant on the sidelines of his brain. So it's fun.
Nice. And I love that you mentioned that each of us, we have a story, we have a way, of perceiving life and reacting to life. And I understand that your daughter is to be soon to be a leader. Um, when you look at your daughter, what internal conversations do you have? Or yeah, goes inside you?
Yeah. For her, I see so much confidence, so much leadership, and I love that that's who she is. I hate that I'm the person that she is practicing on. But she is just sparkly. She has great conviction. She has really strong boundaries. And I think all of those things are important and also things that unfortunately can be worked out of us sometimes as we go through growing up as a woman and a girl and a teenager. And I really want her to just never lose that piece of her. She'll stand up in her chair at dinner every night and give us full performances about the way her day went at school, and she's never afraid to stand up and be loud. And so I hope that I can help her guide that and foster it and watch it grow to in the right ways that will make her just an absolute rock star at whatever she wants to be. I want her to sit at big tables, but I want her to sit at the right tables and not just reach meaninglessly for things. I want her to have a purpose for her leadership, and I think she will.
Nice. Do you bring her to the conferences with you?
Oh, not yet, although she would really love that.
I, I
Maybe
think
someday.
I think they should open a space. I mean, not the ones you're going right now, but conferences in general should open a space for children, so that we don't struggle to think, we're traveling and whatsoever, but we're traveling with them to provide them a whole new sense. Of course, they're not gonna be the whole day with us, but receiving knowledge and getting the exposure to sit on important tables and listen and learn from good conversations.
I love that idea. I think that's fabulous. Even if it's just a day, right? Where it's almost a take your kids to work day that I think they still have that. I know they had it when I was growing up, but that would be amazing. I think we should start that, Maria.
Yes,
I like that
definitely.
idea.
Let's speak after this.
She does come onto my conference calls all the time. So she's a frequent guest right about here.
Yeah, and it's good for them
Yeah.
because they're learning, they're listening. I always mention that many of my calls are in the car when I'm driving Enzo to school or when I pick him up, and I always ask him if he wants to listen or if he wants me to just put music and I just wear a headphone. And most
Mhm.
of the times he wants to listen and he asks questions after. The questions are like, where is China, mom? And and for me it's just good that he's exposed to seeing mom and dad working, because that just adds goals and mindset for them. And here comes a question for me because I'm really hoping that your children get to watch this episode and also share with their friends, because that's the way to inspire and motivate not only our generation that, we're here, we're doing it, but to really inspire and motivate the new generation to follow your dreams, to take good decisions, and to lead on really good tools. So, if your children were to listen to this episode 20 years from now, what will you want them to truly understand about you?
This is such a good question. It's so hard to answer with so many different things. Um, I hope they know that I I just want them to feel like I have their back. Um, and that they can do whatever makes them happy and that they should do what makes them happy and not what makes them money. Um, And I hope that I have been able to help them follow a passion in 20 years. I hope that I can look back to this episode and say, oh my gosh, these things that I thought I was never going to be able to do, or this dream that I had for them, it's true. It all paid off. It was all worth it in the end, which I think is something that as a parent, I think all parents struggle with that, right? Is what I'm doing today the right thing? And in 20 years, will I be able to say, whew, I did it and it worked? I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that they feel good about themselves and they feel happy in their careers.
That's lovely. And I'm sure you give a lot of winning mentality quotes or support to your children.
Mhm.
Do you have any phrases that activate your winning mentality?
Ooh, it's a good one. I was at a conference for McDonald's last week or this week actually. The theme of that was be bold and stay golden. And I just really had that resonate with me. Um, I said, I think it's going to be my mantra for 2026. And I really like that one. So I think that's my new one. Another one actually that I have here. This was the mentor that I mentioned earlier gave me this little what is it, like a coaster for my desk when, gosh, probably 15 years ago now. And it says, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And I keep that on my desk. I've had it on my desk since the day he gave it to me. And that's probably the other one. That's been my lifetime one because I see it every day.
Wow. Nice. It's like, why? Why out of the comfort zone? But we love that.
Yeah, get out of it. Nothing's going to
Yeah.
happen until you're out of that comfort zone.
Somebody told me the other day, change or die. And definitely, if you're not in constant change, of course, with align with yourself, integrating all the best aspects of life into you, then you can continue growing, following your passions, etc. We can get very romantic here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Intentional
then look,
change, right?
yeah, yeah. Looking back, would you change anything?
No, not a thing. Not a thing. Every single step has been for a purpose. Um, and even if you don't know what that purpose is in the moment, I think you have to trust that it's going to lead somewhere. And whether it's good or bad, it'll be a positive change or it'll be a lesson that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And hopefully that lesson will let you make a positive change in someone else's life by passing along your wisdom. So no, I wouldn't change anything.
Nice. So that's why listen and share to I Am Maria podcast, because here, real lives, important decisions that can get you inspired and motivated definitely will push you. What motivates you
Ooh,
to be where you are today?
that's a good question. What motivates me? I think I'm very just kind of self-motivated. I'm an oldest daughter, so I have that, kind of drive to be the best I can be all the time. So very self-motivated, but I think externally, I want to make people happy and proud. So working, on behalf of the people that I support, at my team at BB and making sure that they shine their brightest as well. And taking care of my family. Those are the biggest things that drives me every day, getting me up in the morning to make a difference for everybody in my life.
Making a difference, making sure that you're living the best on your season, because you're a lady of seasons. And
Indeed.
I want your advice, or what advice would you give someone debating on changing, on entering a new season?
Oh gosh. Embrace it. I think that's all you can do, whether it's a positive or a negative change that you're perceiving right now. Embrace what's happening. It's, when change happens, you have to roll with it. You can't force things. The more you force um, outcomes, I think the world has a way of kind of giving you the opposite, just to challenge you like that little bit more. Um, and if it's tough, then, find a way to get through the tough because there's always an uphill at the bottom. And if it's great, then see how far you can take the greatness and prepare for the time that it might not be so great. But um, I think overall, all change is good. It's just a matter of how you approach it and how you let it affect you. Um, a lot of people might say take control of it, but I think in some ways you've got to let go of that a little bit sometimes to see where the road takes you.
To flow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Love that. Well, this is going to be my last question for today. What would you like people listening to get away from this episode?
I hope that they feel like they can let their guard down a little bit and it'll be okay. Um, I hope they can feel that they will be accepted for who they are at the right table. Um, and I want to encourage anybody that's listening to reach out to me if they ever want to talk about their career or what's going on in their personal life or any challenge that they might be walking through. And I'm always happy to expand my network with good people, and I hope that that's something that comes out of this as well. Make a difference, right? For yourself or for someone else. I hope that's what people see.
You're so nice. and you have
Oh,
made a difference already, for sure.
thank you.
To me, your story, Jennifer's story, reminds us that there isn't one defining decision because there are many. And each one shapes who we become, who we love, who we lead, and how we model possibility for the next generation. This episode is for anyone building a life in chapters, and most importantly, trusting that every phase or every season matters. Thank you so much again for being here. I
Thank
very
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, Maria. It's so nice chatting with you.